welcome to my channel. And if you're an OG, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marilyn Bruce and I'm a Ghanaian-based women's wear fashion designer. My very last video was about how to make the Ghanaian trendy fun, and I haven't been able to post anything else ever since. This is because I've been very busy, and we all know how tedious and how time-consuming shooting and editing videos take. But I've been able to put something together. I'll be posting a video on how to make a mermaid wedding gown. But before then, I want to take you guys through how I do certain things, how I take my measurements, full body measurements, and how I draft my patterns. So today's video is going to be basically on that. So after I take you through body measurements and then drafting, then we can move on to the mermaid wedding gown dress. So without further ado, let's just get into today's tutorial. So before you begin taking any measurements, you need something like a rope that is long enough to go around your waist, and you're going to tie this around your natural waist. And in order for you to know your natural waist, you're just going to tilt yourself a little bit over to the side, and wherever it bends, that is your natural waist. Or better still, you can just take your tape measure and then you measure 1 to 2 inches from your navel. So if this is your navel, you're going to measure 1 to 2 inches and you're going to tie the rope around that side. So that is your natural waist. And a little bit above is your high waist, and a little bit below is your low waist. Some people take the measurement and they take it as this side. This side is your low waist, this is your natural waist, and this is the recommended waistline you are supposed to use. Secondly, before you take anyone's measurement, be it yourself or anybody, you have to ensure that the person puts on something very tight. You don't want the person wearing anything baggy. If they wear something very baggy, the measurements are going to add up, and whatever garments that you make for them won't fit as they want. So let's begin with the bust measurement. So this goes around your bust, and if you have a long hair, you have to make sure that it goes under the hair and not on top of it. So this is what we have. So whatever measurement you get, you're going to put that down. You're going to put that down. Then you move on to your waist. So the waist is your natural waist. You're going to measure that as well. So whatever you get, you put that down as well. If you're measuring yourself, you know how tight you want it. If you're measuring somebody else, you need to ask them questions. You need to communicate with them. So as you're taking the measurements, you need to ask the person, is it too tight? Is it too loose? How do you want it? So they tell you how they want it. Some people would want their waist very snatched, so you ask them. So if they want it very snatched, you keep on tightening it till they tell you they are okay. So whatever you get, you just write it down, and then you move on to your hip. So with the hip too, it has to be at the fullest part of your butt. So just the mid. I hope you can see what I'm doing. So the middle section is where you take your hip. So whatever you get, you're going to put them down as well. So from the hip measurement, you're going to move from your shoulder to your nipple. Then from your shoulder to your nipple, you move to shoulder to under basket. Let's take one at a time. So I forgot one thing. When you're taking someone's measurement, you have to ensure that they put on the right bra, the kind of bra that they are most likely to wear every day. So if the person likes to wear push-up bras, you need to make sure that when they are coming for their measurements, they put on a push-up bra. If you put on a different kind of bra in taking your measurements and then you have another bra on when you're wearing your garments, it might look different. So you have your bra on, you take your shoulder to your waist. Shoulder to nipple, sorry. So your shoulder starts from here. You can feel a little bone somewhere here. So that's where your shoulder starts from. So my shoulder to my nipple is 10. And that's basically the standard for average size people. But for very tall people and very busty people, it might change to 12 to 14. Yeah, it depends on the person you're taking the measurement of. So after you get your shoulder to waist, you still keep the measuring tape there and you're going to measure your shoulder to your underbust. So whatever you get, the underbust is basically the underwire in your bra. So you can feel the underwire in your bra. So that is your underbust. So wherever the underwire is, that's where you measure as your underbust. So we move on to the next, your shoulder to your waist. So still keeping the tape measure at where it is, you're going to measure your shoulder to your waist. And I didn't even tell you why we tie the rope around our waist. We tie the rope around our waist just so to serve as a guideline for our waist. So here, as you can see, my waist is, shoulder to waist is somewhere 18. Yeah. The next time, if I want to measure my waist downwards, I still use the rope as a reference so that I don't keep on shifting my waist. Because if I didn't have this here, I might measure my waist here at one time and I might measure it here at another time. And when you do that, the measurements will conflict on your garments and it's going to give you different results and your dress might not come out well. So the next measurements for you to take is your nipple to nipple. So your nipple to nipple is basically from one nipple to the other. So you just feel where your nipples are and then you just measure. Mine is 8. So whatever you get for yours, you can write it down. And then the next thing is your across front. So your across front is basically from one bone here to the other bone here. If you're finding it too difficult to locate it, you can just use this armpit line as a guide and you can just measure from here to here. Then I think we have 14.5 or 15. You can just add your each to it. So I think I have 14. So whatever you get, you can write that down. So I have my around arm as well. Around arm or your biceps. Whatever you get, you can put that down as well. So from there, you move to your dress length. Your dress length would be from your shoulder and it's going to pass through your underbust and then the length at which you want your dress to be, you're going to use that length. So wherever you want the measurements to be, you're going to use that. If you're measuring yourself, you don't have to do this. If you do this, your measurements will change. You need to stand upright. If you can just get a mirror and look at it and then you know where the measurement ends. So I have a mirror right in front of me and I'm looking through. So I know if you bend, the measurement is going to be shorter. And when you are taking the measurements for your clients, you have to make sure that they stand upright. They don't bend looking at what you are doing. The measurements will change. So after you get your dress length, be it short or long, you can write that down as well. Then you move on to your waist down. So these measurements can also help you to get your skirt length, whether short skirt, 3/4 or long. So you just put the measuring tape on your waist, on your waist, and wherever the person wants it to end, you just write down the number. But then if the person is sewing a gown and you need to take measurements for the gown, you always have to make sure that the person will wear a long heel. If not, they can just tiptoe. So you make them tiptoe and then you can take the measurements. If you don't do that, the measurements will shorten and the dress is going to hang and it won't look nice. So the next thing you need to take is your sleeve length. So the sleeve length starts from this bone. There's a bone here. It starts from that very bone, and then it's going to pass through. I'm doing this alone, so I might face a little challenge, but basically you just tilt your hand a little bit like this, and then the tape measure passes through to your elbow and then it ends on the bone here. So for a very long sleeve, that's where it ends. If it's 3/4, it ends like 5 inches above your wrist, and then your elbow. And then if it's short sleeve, whichever length the person wants, you can use that. So basically this. And after you're done, you can measure the person's around elbow. Around elbow should be like this. I'm really finding it difficult to do this by myself, so pardon me. Around elbow, it should basically go around your elbow, and then you're going to write whatever you have down. The next thing we have is your wrist. Okay, I'm wearing a watch here. So with your wrist measurements, you can only make it this tight if what you are sewing is stretchy. That's when you can make it this tight. If you are sewing something with a stretch fabric, or if you're going to have an opening on the sleeve, you can make it this tight. If you are not using a stretchy fabric and you are not having an opening on your sleeve, if you use this measurement, it won't work. So it shouldn't be tight. So I had 7. So if I use 7 to sew my sleeve, there's no way my hand is going to fit in this. So the right thing to do is you're going to measure the 7. You're going to write the 7 down as well, just in case you need it for something tight. So 7 like this. And what you're going to do is you're just going to open it up bit by bit, and whilst you're opening the tape measure, you try taking out your hand. So you try taking your hand. So you do that until you are able to freely take out your hand. So wherever the tape measure stops, that's where you're going to write the number as your wrist. So here I have 9. So I'm going to write 9 as my wrist. So you can just look, my hand goes through the 9. It comes out easily. So that's that for the wrist. The next thing to do is your off shoulder. Okay, so some people find it difficult taking off shoulder. Off shoulder is just like what I'm wearing. It just goes around your shoulder. just goes around your shoulder, and then you write it down. Like I said, if you're measuring somebody else other than yourself, you need to ask questions. You need to communicate with them. You need to ask them, is it too tight? Is it too loose? Is it okay? It's very necessary because some clients can be very problematic. So you need to make sure that you are doing what they want. The next thing to do is your full length. So your full length is basically from your shoulder to the floor. If it's going to be a gown, you need to tiptoe as usual. Then you take that measurement. We also have measurements called the tapering line. The tapering line is normally used for gowns, and that measurement is basically around our thigh, somewhere here. The window you can see. So with that one, you just take from your waist, and it ends like 4 to 5 inches above your knee. So you measure that. The measurement is actually between 17 to 19 inches. So you measure that, and then let me adjust the camera a bit. So your tapering line is somewhere here. Somewhere here. So when you're sewing a mermaid gown, you know where the fishy thing starts from. That's your tapering line. And then you're also going to measure your around tapering. Your around tapering starts from that same place. So in order for you to be able to move freely, you need to move a step forward like this. Then you're going to measure so that you are free. When you are walking, you can walk freely. If you don't do that and you measure it like this and it's so tight, you won't be able to walk. You're going to find it difficult to walk. So another measurement you really need to take into consideration is your center back. So let me show you how to take the center back measurement. So the center back measurement starts from somewhere here, or better still, you can measure 2 to 3 inches from your hairline, somewhere here. And then wherever 2 to 3 inches stops, it starts from there, and then you're going to run the tape across. You need to ensure that you stand straight, and then you end at wherever the red rope is. What do I have? I think this. I have 16. So one thing is that our front is a bit curvier, or let me say more curvier than our back. Our back is straight. So if you have your shoulder to waist to be 18, like mine, for instance, mine was 18, shoulder to waist was 18. But when I measured the back, my back was 16. This means that I'll have to get rid of 2 inches when I'm cutting the center back. And this helps you get rid of unnecessary bulge at the back of your dress. Sometimes you see people wear certain dresses and then you see that the back has some folds around the waistline, something like this. You see the zipper has this curved or curly looking, and it doesn't look good. But then if you are able to get rid of that 2 inches, which is excess fabric, your back is going to lie flat. When I'm doing my drafting, I'm going to teach you guys how I get rid of excess fabric at the back for the back to lie flat. I think another measurement that I forgot to mention is your shoulder length. So with the shoulder measurement, you just start from here, your neck, and then it ends at where the bone is. So mine is 4. So you can measure yours and then you can put it down. The measurement you need for making a trouser is your waist measurement, your hip, your around thigh, your around ankle, your around knee, and you also need your crotch measurements or your seat. So I have this chair here and I want to demonstrate to you how to take the seat measurement. So you just get a chair, you sit on it, and you're going to measure from where the rope starts from, like this, and it's going to end right where the chair starts from, where your back ends on the chair. So whatever you get, you're going to write it down. There is also another way of measuring the seat or the crotch. Like that one, some people find it a bit uncomfortable because it goes through, I don't know if I can demonstrate. Let me try. That one is measured like this. I think I've turned the measurement. So that one starts like this. So it starts from the red thread, goes through under, and then it ends at the other side. So whatever you get, you're going to write it down, 31. But for me, I like to use this method because it gives you the accurate measurement. Yeah, so whichever you want, you can use that. And then you need your tie measurements. Your tie measurement is basically the fullest part of your tie. You're going to measure that, and then you can measure your mid tie as well, and then you measure your ankle, your knee, and then you measure your ankle. So with your ankle, just as you measured your wrist, you're going to do the same thing to your ankle. You're not going to make it tight. You only make it tight if you're using a stretchy fabric. But if you are not using a stretchy fabric, then what you have to do is you take the tape around, and then you try taking the tape off. You try releasing it and try bringing your leg out. So slowly, you'll be releasing the tape slowly. So wherever your leg was able to come out, you're going to put down that measurement. So I have 13. So you put down that measurement. So your waist measurement, you already have it. Your hip, you have it. And then you're good to go. Okay, so this brings us to the end of today's tutorial, and I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, kindly give me a thumbs up, and also don't forget to share with friends and family so they can learn something new. And also don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. And finally, if you have any suggestions, if you have any questions, feel free to comment in the comment section below. Until next time, enjoy your day wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Bye.